Well, finding a solution to climate change will involve a balancing act, addressing human economic needs while ensuring the long-term future of the natural world. For a closer look at the impact of climate change on nature, we're joined by Steve Sanderson, the President and CEO of the Wildlife Conservation Society. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
It's nice to be here.
Well, you know, when we talk about the climate change debate, it's often portrayed as one or the other, that our human needs, our economic needs, trump those of nature. The two are somehow seen at odds with each other or very separate. Do you think that is entirely true?
If you think of responding to climate change or moderating the way we live as being against our interests, then yes, they can be opposed. So if we want to live completely without responsibility to the earth, then we can say that these are either or. But in fact, so many of our interests are joined with those of the natural world, and we've falsely separated our interests from those of the natural world. We are a part of nature, and we depend on nature for our livelihood. But if we look at practical questions, where do we get our water from? How can we count on our water being clean? How do our ecosystems refresh the earth? How is carbon stored and released in the earth? These are things that are fundamental to human life.
Let's talk a little bit about your organization, which has drawn attention to some animals that may be in jeopardy because of climate change. Some examples being flamingos, sea turtles and wolverines, as well as others. Some people might say, why is it important to save those particular animals?
Well, they're the tip of the disappearing iceberg, in the sense that flamingos, for example, they are a dominant bird across North America, Latin America, Africa, and Asia. And they're a wonderful bird, but when you look behind that, 84% of migratory birds in the world are at risk from climate change. Flamingos alone, the reason they're in trouble is that their shallow lakes on which they depend are disappearing from climate change. It's also true that all of the people in the Andes rely on that same water resource. And so the flamingos are sort of the canary in the coal mine for the people who depend on the slopes of the Andes for their water resources. But beyond that, it's really about the diversity of life on Earth. If we can't own up to the importance of that, then we're very poor.
One of the big developments out of Copenhagen today was this pledge by rich nations to give several $1 billion to help prevent the deforestation of rainforests. How significant a development do you think that is when you look at it within the context of natural habitats, for example, of the types of animals that you're talking about?
Well, it's a great advance because Kyoto left it out and Bali put it back in 2 years ago. So it's a great advance if, in fact, the commitments are followed through on with a streamlined financial mechanism and a way to ensure that the most valuable forests and peatlands and grasslands in the world are protected, and that the money is set up in a way that benefits local populations and human communities worldwide. All right. So it's a big deal.
Steve Sanderson, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.